The kit all laid out. Here's the front panel. We have the two silver screws, washers, and nuts go on these two outside connections and these two outside connections. Same silver screw, one per each fog light connection. Then we have the left side fog light bracket with all the hardware, the right side fog light bracket with all the hardware, the required Allen wrenches, the center contouring clip, the two plug and play fog light, and the heavy duty black tie wraps for mounting. Various tie wraps here to help with the installation of the wiring harness and the wiring harness itself. So this bracket is marked with an R for right. It's going to go on this side. The tie wrap goes through the bottom of the bracket, and you can just let it hang like that. So it's going to go through this way. Carefully take a look at that. Then we're going to push the bracket, or the tie wrap, around the bumper and up through the We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now there's the passenger side. You see that the hole lines up underneath. And I snugged them up a little bit, but you still be able to move them around a little if you have to. So here's the passenger side, same idea. Hole lines up here in the middle. Get them to line up as best you can, and then we're going to install the panel. Okay, here's the panel, and it's going to be affixed with 6 of these silver screws, an Allen 4mm Allen head. You see, here's the mount holes and the mount tabs. So we're going to put this on next. You're just going to put it on very loosely. Just get the screws started and get everything to hang in place. Remember, this end has to be behind the bumper to make everything fit correctly. Okay, so here's the screws in place, all 6, from the far tab to this tab, to this tab, to this tab here, and the 2 tabs on this side. They're just loose, everything's loose. Nothing's tightened yet, everything has just been started, so that's what we want to do for now. Okay, now that we've got all the screws in, it's very loose, I'm going to tighten these up, and I'm using a 4mm screwdriver, a little bit easier than the Allen wrench. Makes the job easier. I'm going to bring this up. I'm not going to tighten it yet, but I'm going to bring it up until there's really no gap here. So then I'm going to make sure that it's lined up correctly side to side. I'm just going to shift it back and forth a little bit, kind of shake it into place. And you'll see there's a little gap here, there's a little gap on this side, and they're basically exactly the same. So what I'm going to do is snug everything up a little bit, then I'm going to check it, and then I'm going to tighten everything down. Okay, now with everything just kind of up to the edge where it's almost tight, we're going to start tightening the panel down with these outside tabs here. So we're going to tighten this one all the way down, but we're going to pull it towards the front and make it align with the mold mark on the bumper. Let me show you. Okay, so this is the end screw. You can see the mold mark on the bumper. We're going to push this forward until it lines up with that mark right there. And then we're going to tighten this, we're going to snug this one down all the way. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now you see I've got this end screw, and this is lined up with the markings on the bumper, the side, and as well on this side. So then the next thing we're going to go do is tighten this second screw in right here. But we're going to make sure this snaps up in here right before we do that. Okay, so this is the second connection here. we're going to just make sure, manipulate this and make sure it just kind of pops into place right here. And do that on both sides. And then go ahead and tighten these screws all the way down as well, these second outside ones. Lastly, we're going to tighten the ones down that are right above the fog lights with the bracket in place. So you're just going to kind of shake this around, make sure it's nice and straight and all the holes are lined up really well. You might even take this screw out and make sure that you got a good alignment on everything. Over here and over there. And then we're going to go ahead and tighten these down. But what we're going to do is we're going to manipulate this a little. So you can see the mold mark on the bumper right there. We're going to bring this out until it's right covering the front of the mold mark. And then we're going to tighten this all the way down on both sides. Down, pull down, and then back up. And you do that until you get them really tight. Okay, so the last thing that needs to go in here is this contouring clip, and it goes this way. There's a little hole here for wire management later, but this will go on exactly the same as the mounting brackets. We're going to use the top hole and the bottom hole to go around the bumper. Again, so the tie wrap will go in this bottom hole, go around the bumper, come out the top hole, just like that. In very center. So you want to center it up behind the panel on the bumper. You know, looking below the panel, here's the fog light panel. Here's the metal bumper right here. There's a hole up here, which is the center of the bumper. So we want to line this up. You can see we got the tie wrap around it. We want to line this up with the center. So just kind of move this over until it's lined up on the center of the bumper, like that. And then it's just a matter of tightening that tie wrap up, and that'll help push this panel out and give it a nice round contour. Okay, so there's the center clip. It'll be flush with the frame, or the bumper right here. And then that's that one. So I've gone ahead and snugged all of these tie wraps up very snug. So all of this stuff is really stiff and sturdy now. So now it's time to cut these tie wraps off and install the fog lights. One thing, everything's tight, this is the way it should look. It should be snug up against the body of the bumper, all the way across. The gap here should be very similar to the gap on the other side. So right now this thing is in and it's snug. So now we're just got to put the fog lights in. Okay, so the kit comes with these little rubber bands here, right here. So we're going to put these on the fog lights. They go behind the fog light when it's in the panel. So we're going to put them on the panel. So here's where it mounts. This is the top side of the fog light, and I'm going to put my rubber band right here, kind of like where the mold mark is. And then on the bottom, I'm going to let it come all the way back here, because this light's going to stick out further on the bottom than it is on the top. So set your rubber bands up like this, make sure they're kind of even all the way around, and then we'll put the fog lights in. And we're going to put these in from behind. We're going to push them through the front. They kind of snap in, and then you put the screws in. Now for the lights to line up correctly at the top, it's going to be really tight up here at the top of the panel. I mean, there's hardly going to be any fog light sticking out, and at the bottom of the panel you're going to see more of the fog light, because this is pointing forward and this panel is leaning back. So if you see right here, the bumper itself needs to be a little bit over on top of this bracket. So if you don't have, you push this back so you can hang on the bumper here with your weight, and it will push this part back. So you can see, like right here, this has to be over the top of this little metal bracket just a little bit. It's got to be like 1/8 of an inch over in order for that light to sit properly on this front lip. Okay, so I got the 2 screws that hold the fog light in place here, and you put it through, you put the fog light through the back, you just push it up through here and pop it through the front. So we're going to go ahead and tighten this down. But we're going to tighten down this side first. On both lights, you're going to tighten this side down, the left side from where you're looking at it. And you're going to pull down on the light all the way until it bottoms out in its bracket. You're going to tighten this one, tighten it down snug, and then you can tighten the other one down. If you tighten the other one first, it'll rotate the light. So you're going to pull this down until it stops in its slot, tighten it down. So as you can see, I had to do a little manipulation of this tab in order to get this one to lay right along the edge here. And then this one to lay right along the edge the same way. I'm a perfectionist, so I had to adjust this one like twice. And the way you adjust it is take the light out and move this mount point front or back, depending on how far the light was sticking out. So once you're happy with the way your lights are mounted, then you're going to gently push the rubber band in place on the back of each one. Give it a little bit of, make it a little solid. And that also keeps light from infiltrating, and it looks like all one unit. So now you have the panel in and the lights in. Then up next would be to wire it up. Here's the wiring harness all laid out on the driveway. So these are my fog light ends here. This is the ground for the fog light side. This is a single wire coming up. So you only have to run one wire through the firewall, and that's the connection there, up to the relay and the switch and the ground here. Okay, now with the fog panel and everything lined up and installed, we're going to take the wiring harness. This is the one that has the 2 connections on it for the fog lights, and the single red wire connection. We're going to run it up through here this way, behind the fog panel. Wires are going to run through here. They're going to run up through here. So you're going to pull that wire through here, and you're going to pull it up until the connection, the shorter connection, is right here for this light. The longer wire, the one that goes to the other light, will go through the hole here on this bracket and come across here, and you'll bring this cable up and through the hole right there and tie it on here to the longer cable. Make sure your red is matched up with your red and your black is your black, or the light won't come on. You're going to bring that through here. You get this, got to go through there first, and then after this one goes through this hole, then you can take this cable and run it through the hole in the bracket. Make your connections right here, and then both wires are going to go up around the edge here. Once you get this lined up, then you can take the slack out of this cable and just tie it here to this center clip and kind of manage it that way. Okay, so the fog light wires come through here, they go up through here, they go just behind the mount, rubber mount, then they come up through right here between that and the frame. It's a good location, and it goes straight up through the engine bay, and I'll show you up there in a minute. Okay, there's the wires coming through right behind the mount, coming straight up through here. So I tied mine to the existing wiring harness right here, came up through behind it and up underneath the corner of the fuse box here. So it goes up behind the fuse box here, and then you tie the ground wire to this screw right here. Have the single cable from here going up through the firewall right there. So all you have to do is push that single cable up through the firewall. Okay, so on the inside of the vehicle, you take this little cover off the fuse box. Then we're going to take this lower panel off, and we're going to take this panel off as well. This panel comes off with 4 bolts and 1 Phillips head screw. This panel comes off with just these 2 pins on both sides. Okay, here's the switch I put mine in this spot right here. If you've got a spot up on the dashboard, you can put it there too, but I'm going to show you how to do it from here. This switch will go in here. You have to press it in really hard on the corners to get it to fit all the way in, but it does fit in good. Once you have to press pretty hard. Okay, so this is the interior portion of the wiring harness. You see, here's the relay. Here is the fuse. There is the switch. And here is the wire that connects to the wire that's coming from the fog light, coming through the firewall, and the ground wire, and the power wire. So the power wire comes so that you can quick and easy install into the accessory spot with an extra fuse. Okay, so once you remove this center console panel, these are the existing connections that go to the Toyota cigarette lighter and that little power meter thing that they have. Here is the relay. I used this little M6 screw here to attach it. There is a little hole here in this bracket, little screw there, and I also put my ground wire on this screw to ground it. All the rest of the wiring is right here. It goes up through here. Okay, so the wire that's coming through the firewall is right here. Bring it up behind the air duct and through along next to the wiring harness up here by the ignition, and then it'll drop down over the top of the parking brake, and then it'll drop down here so you can make connection with the interior harness piece from right here. Two wires will be going this way. This is also right here is the power wire. It will go up and it'll route along the same pathway, but it goes all the way across here. You can see it comes right through across here, and then across here, and then up to the far. So this fuse right here is your ACC fuse, your accessory fuse. It's a 15 amp fuse. You're going to pull that fuse out. You're going to add it to the power harness. You can see there's two 15 amp fuses in there. And you're going to bring it around the back side. Right here, bring it around here, and it simply plugs in to the accessory switch right here. Boom. Now you got your power. Okay, so quick review. Relay mounted to this little hole in this metal bracket. All the wiring here. The switch wire is right here. It's the green one. This will plug into the switch. These are the existing factory ones. Wiring going up through here. See, I tied it to that little vacuum line there and came across, and I put it underneath this clip right here where all the main wires go. Okay, so quick review here before we put this back on. We're going to reconnect the cigarette lighter in the little power meter, and we're going to have the connection on the back of the fog light switch, and everything's ready to go back. So this piece will just slide back in and snap back into position. Okay, so I put this little panel back on, put all the wires back on, everything back on. I hooked up the switch, and I've got the accessory turned on the car, so you see that this is lit up. So we're going to do a quick test of the lights first before we put the other panel back on. So I'm going to push that. That light comes on. The light should be on in the front. You can see both fog lights are illuminated, so everything's working fine. You know, double check your wires, make sure everything's still in, make sure this duct is still in place, everything looks good, and then go ahead and finish putting your panels back on. Okay, so everything's back in place, looking good. There is an alternative spot you can use. If your truck has just a blank panel here, or just this little LED, I trace this LED out, it goes nowhere. I've seen a couple of trucks that have these LEDs, so if you can use this panel, You certainly can put the switch here, which would actually be a lot better than where it's at.